Hello and welcome to Nation Fan TV. Today I'll be previewing the DSTV Premiership match between Kaizer Chiefs and SuperSport United. Later on I'll also read some of your comments from yesterday's video. Guys, Hunt started playing games on Sunday already, posting about how he was getting ready for the week and all of that. And he would be hoping to get in Zwane's head because with all the pressure that's going on, it's easy for Zwane to take the bait and end up changing, isn't? But what does SuperSport have? What threat do they actually bring? Well, for starters, they have Gavin Hunt. I mean, he might not be a coach that I would want to coach my team. He's not the type of coach that I would want to coach Chiefs. However, he is a coach who knows how to win. In fact, SuperSport is the only team that has managed to win 3 back-to-back matches so far this season, if I'm not mistaken. So that on its own speaks volumes. They've already won against Sundowns. I know Sundowns also beat them, but they are not a team that you can just say, it's SuperSport. Not to mention Uguti SuperSport is also just a team in general that we seem not to get wins against. I don't know why. And another thing that connects to this whole entire thing, Uguti last season, this fixture right here is where Stuart Baxter got fired. The second leg, that is. But this time around, it's Arthur Zwane, and if Nagile, it could be the same fate for him as well. And here's another thing that I think we've not been noticing. So Chiefs is 14th on the log with 8 points. SuperSport is 6th on the log with how many points? With 11 points. So the gap between us and SuperSport is literally 3 points. And then they have equal difference of 0, we have equal difference of -3. We beat them 2-0, then their goal difference is -2, our goal difference is -1, and all of a sudden we're above them in the log. That speaks volumes about the quality of our league. Real Uguti, how come after 8 matches there's still just so minor spaces or small spaces between teams? They were number 14, a team or number 8, or number 6. But that's just a side note. But it's to point out to Uguti, yes, Chiefs is not in a good place in terms of where we are placed in the league. However, there is still chance, and it makes me believe Uzwane when he said that there is not pressure from a board. He's supported, he's being supported, he's being backed, and you could believe him when he says that, because really, if you're thinking about what Chiefs is trying to do right now, firing Uzwane and starting afresh with someone else would be a bit tricky. I'll make a video about that. Hopefully Zwane doesn't get fired and then I don't have a video to make. But right now, there is not a huge reason for Chiefs to worry, because it's not like Seguna 7 points between us and 8th position, but we can win 1 game and all of a sudden we top 8. So I could see why Uzwane might have a backing from a board and could keep his job even if he loses tomorrow, which I hope doesn't happen. Another thing that I hope could happen is that you subscribe to this video if you're to this channel if you're enjoying this video, and to also leave a like before I just talk about the starting lineups and all that. And one of the interesting things that actually was talked about at the press conference is Ukune. He was talking about how some players who are playing for Chiefs seem to be still starstruck by playing for Uguti. They don't believe what they're playing for Chiefs. And in a way, that made me feel like, okay, that might be true. Maybe that's why abanye abadlali are not expressing themselves as much as they could. But also at the same time, it sounds like he's shooting at the new players, because it's basically saying you are the ones who are not pulling your weight. So basically, effectively, he's saying the players who are performing or Sehota or Toli Ngobo and himself, because starting lineup said to those are the only 4 people or Northland who are like players who were there with the team, and that might be good to say to your teammates behind closed doors, but then to come out and say that in public, Utabantu Basta struck, they still can't believe what they're playing for Chiefs. That's like you're taking shots at the players, and I'm a Kaizer Chiefs fan and I'm looking at this in a positive way, but it's easy for someone else to take it and say second division with Chiefs. You get what I'm saying? So it's my concern. I feel like really EPR training should be done with Chiefs. These guys should be careful ukuthi bathini kwi-media, because then the media can blow things out of proportion, and then there's Twitter, and then kugcina kutrenda into engesile iqiniso just because they heard you say something but that's not what you meant. Now if we look at our starting lineup, but before I go to our starting lineup, guys, I want to read some of the comments from yesterday because they will kind of underline some of the points that I will make with our starting lineup. And the question from yesterday was actually, has Chiefs backed Zwane enough? And here are some of the comments. The first one is from Ace Nkopodi, who said, you are spot on, Pilo. Chiefs management were no show in the transfer market. No defensive midfielder, no strikers. We released Dehond and Kokota Piano and replaced them with nothing. Management's fault. I repeat, Kaizer Chiefs I know make their own players. Dr. Kumalo, Trevor Mtimkulu, Willington Manyati, Philemon Mohanelwa, Chabupule. The list is endless. I think Chiefs needs one striker and use Nkosingphile Ngcobo and maybe Ndlondlo. We also need to use Mduduzi Shabalala and Zwane. Last comment is from Domiso Macholo, who says, the thing is, Chiefs buys according to availability of a player in the market. They don't sign because they have a need on a specific position. That is our problem. They chase players who have fights with their clubs or free agents. So you'll never have quality you need if you wait for players that are free. Yo, I couldn't actually agree more with that, because siyabona ukuthi iChiefs isayine abadlali, akukho nje umdlali evele nje yamphumela yayomlanda fresh ngemali kodwa wow simlandile bese simdinga, but isayinela abadlali ekuqaleni, boom, and then that was it, and then they did not sign anyone else. And the players that we have right now are kind of equality yabo concentrated in either being a winger or attacking midfielder. But kwawona lawo ma-attacking midfielder right now njengo unyawupe, but kuthiwa singambizi ngonyawupe, uMahlatsi for instance, akakadlaliswa, i-chance akakayitholi, and understandably so, because uSekhota is performing well on that side, and before that it was Dupree performing pretty well. And la kuyitheni uMahlobu uyobesadlaliswa for now, and it seems like uZwane prefers him over any other player that we have. Last week I understood why, because Mshini wasn't there, but this week I won't understand if kuqaliswa uMahlobu again, because vele kwi-lineup I would agree with keeping Ukune as a goalkeeper, right back Solomon, Ngcobo, Kweneka and Hlanti. Flat four yethu. Phambili futhi, maybe we may not disagree with Zwane here as well. If he plays, uSekhota has been our informed player on the left, or even if you play him on the right and then Akate in, because at least maybe if he's cutting in, he can be able to open his body and see people who are running rather than just running forward without any aim. And then the other person on the other wing is Dupree cutting in. And then nansi ke indaba la ebakhona, Caleb should start. In my books, Caleb should be starting alongside Dupree and Sekhota on the wings, because you have a target man but also you have pace. Target man uzoyisebenzisa kuphi? Mazidlala ama long balls and then he plays the ball down to our attacking midfielders. I-pace uzoyisebenzisa wide. So in that way you have a threat from midfield, you also have a threat from wide. So if ibhola lidlalwa to Caleb can head the ball down to our midfielders abezayo, they get the ball while our wingers are running, then the ball is played wide to our wingers, then Caleb can still run in and score goals 18, or the ball can still play the cut back, and then our midfielders that can still score goals. Or if our wingers are isolated with the fullbacks, they can dribble past them and score goals. So it's doable with the pace that we have and the size of the player or our number 9 that we have right now. And because of that, I see why it's a case ukuthi kumele kahle kahle uCaleb adlaliswe kusasa. But seeing how Zwane seems to see things, it seems like he would rather play Usehota, Udoli kwa right, and then Udupri through the middle. And then in the previous game, he just disappeared because idea Zwane would play Udupri through the middle if he does play him again would be the fact that we are building combinations. But right now, we know the person who has aerial threat, Caleb, and Caleb should be playing that position. Not to mention, good even defensively, Caleb will help us because SuperSport might not dominate ball, but they will get a corner, score that corner ngohlatshwayo, and then but defend the game yonke. So if you have someone also by aerial presence, not just must defender but must phambili, because if uzodlala cross kuno to play 18 emakuhlatshwayo, hlatshwayo is good aerially, everybody knows that. So akana chance to play in that case, and because of that sizobe sesibasenkingeni. And I'm sure you're asking yourself ukuthi ayibo amjida lo wakhuluma impela kodwa waskip sis, why have you not talked about midfield? Because I honestly don't know. I really don't know ukuthi uZwane uzokwenza njani. Logically uBlom should start as a number 6, yeah, and then phambi kwakhe kumele kudlale uMathi noMshin. That's it. uSthebe can come in second half. In fact, at this the reason why Umathi should start, because we saw how he assists with the press going forward. And the case for Sthebe starting ukuthi and at least we've seen him carrying the ball and moving with the ball forward. Umuntu who has seemed to be more scared to move with the ball forward, Umathi. So I would rather have Sthebe start for ukuthi uzokwazi ukuqhubeka phathe ball. But argument for Umathi is the fact that he helps Chiefs with the high press. So there is argument for both. And Gwamina, as you can see, I'm undecided which one I would want to start. But I definitely want uBlom to start and Umshin to also start. I talked about this, we need a variation in our midfield. And if we have that kind of variation, then we could cause a SuperSport some problems. But knowing uZwane, I feel like he will insist on playing uMatlowu, uSthebe, noMathi, which will be a problem because, as we said, they are similar players. Particularly guys, ngifuna ukuzwa ukuthi nina nicabangani. Do let me know down on the comment section below. Ngizonibona khona. Thank you for watching, and until next time, remember equals alphela umoya.